Hello there, it's Cassie and welcome back for another scrapbookpal.com video. Today I'm going to be making a Father's Day card, so let's talk about the products we're going to be using. That first one there was the Father's Day line border. Then we had the outside in stitch speech bubbles. Here we have the Say What gift tags. And then we have the Reveal Wheel Spring Sentiments. We have the Critter Chatter Pets. And then we also have Meow You Doin'. And with the matching dies. So there's a lot of stamps that we're using today, but it's mostly because I just wanted to do some mixing and matching. The paper pad that we're going to be using is called Hello Sunshine, and that's a 6x6 paper pad. I'm going to use a few different patterns from this set, and we're going to trim down this blue piece to be 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. We're going to make a square card today. I wanted to do that because we're going to do a special little surprise element with our card, and you'll see when we get closer to the end. I grabbed out one of the dies from the outside in stitch speech bubbles, and I'm going to tack that down and run that through my die cutting machine. I did cut down another piece of white cardstock, and that is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And now I'm taking the words from the Critter Chatter Pets, and you'll see my pet wants something to do with those. So he's going to grab them. I just thought you'd find this funny because this is going to be a cat card. And my cats were all up in it. All right, all I'm doing is I line those up inside of my MISTI. And the reason I did that, you could easily do it with a stamp block, but this just makes it a little easier. I want to stamp those meows all over that background. I'm doing that with some Scattered Straw Distress Oxide ink. And then I'll just move my paper around. And that way things can be lined up. I'm lining it up with the grid on the background and then just tacking it down with one of my magnets. But both my cats, Max and Miles, Miles was the first one you saw, and this is Max that you see there. They are both very much into what I am doing, which is just kind of funny since that says purr, meow, and you've got meow all over the background. I just think it's hilarious. And as I said, I'm making a Father's Day card, and this is fun because this could be a Father's Day card from your kids or from your pets. That's what makes this so cool. Yeah, even their tails are into it. So I'm going to stamp that all over that background. It doesn't need to be the entire background, just needs to be enough to cover where the speech bubble was cut out. And so I'm going to just keep on stamping until I have that fairly covered. But yeah, it works out really nicely, and it just makes for this really nice background. And I love how that set has some for dogs and cats and fish and just lots of fun. So that's what it's going to look like when it comes through that speech bubble. I'm also going to use the Say What tags, gift tags. And so I've tacked that down to one of the pieces of pattern paper, and I'm also going to tack down the stars to another piece of the pattern paper. And I do that a couple times. And then I'll set those off to the side inside of a little dish because I have some plans for those as well. I'm going to stamp out one of the kittens from this set a couple different times onto some Copic friendly paper using Memento Tuxedo black ink. And then we're going to color those little guys. And they're going to look like the first cat you saw. So as you saw, I have two Siamese cats. And if you watch me at all on my channel, they sometimes make appearances. They are a lot of fun. I'm going to color these to be like Miles because this is going to go to my husband. And Miles has chosen my husband as his person. I know that animals typically will pick a person, and Miles has definitely chosen my husband, which is fun. So I originally started with the color Eggshell or E50 that I put down as my wash. Then I came in with the W. So that first color that I put down was Warm Gray number 4, and then I came in with Warm Gray number 6, and then I'm going to kind of just go backwards from there just to try to blend out those colors. And then their nose was colored with Warm Gray number 9. I'll use the matching die that goes with this set, and I'll just tack that down, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. And I'll cut out both cats, and then I actually cut out 4 more just using the die cut because I want this. I'm going to need those just to give some stability to my little cat. And now we're going to take the Father's Day line border, and we're going to put that over some dark gray cardstock. We're going to tack that down with some tape and run that through the die cutting machine. And then you're going to want to be careful. There is one piece that isn't connected, and that is the apostrophe for fathers. So just don't lose it. Here I thought that possibly I had lost it, but then I realized it was right there. So I'm just setting it off to the side. and then we're going to stamp one of our sentiments. So we're stamping Translation, and that one comes from the Critter Chatter, which is another thing that makes this set so cute. You've got all the little sentiments that cats or dogs or birds or whatever might say, and then I've got that in the background, and then it's going to say Translation, Happy Father's Day. So I think that's so adorable. And then I'll just wipe off my excess powder bag. I did heat emboss that with some white embossing powder onto some black cardstock, and then trim that down with my guillotine trimmer. And now we're going to get ready to adhere our Father's Day line border. So I'm using a paper piercer to get that out, and then I am going to use some reverse tweezers to hold that in place while I put a little bit of Tombow Mono Liquid Glue. Now I am not squeezing this glue because this border is very, very thin, and so I'm basically just touching this to the parts that might stick up, because there's plenty of glue just right at the tip. You wouldn't need to squeeze at all. And I'm using this glue because it dries clear and it's not tacky at all. It's a great glue, holds things in place very, very nicely. And then I'll just go across the entire Happy Father's Day. I love how this is about 5.5 inches long. So it will cover or go from one end of the card to the other, which is great. So using my grid mat, I'm just going to line up the Happy Father's Day and try to get that as straight as possible. And then I'll tack all that down, just try to tap it down with my fingers. And then I'll use that same liquid glue after I've cut off the excess. I'll put that same liquid glue right in between the fathers so that I can put the apostrophe there. And it only takes a little dollop, and then I can put that down. And then we'll use the glue to put down Translation as well. I just think it's cute with all the meows. Translation, Happy Father's Day. Works out really nicely. All right, we're going to move on to the tag. So what I plan to do with this is make a bookmark. So this is where the reveal wheel spring sentiments comes in. It says, Dad, your... And then I'm going to take this Wishing You a Possum Day stamp that came from the Meow You Doin stamp set. All I want is possum. So I'm going to take a Post-it note and I'm just going to rip it in half, and I'm going to cover the words I don't want. And then I will stamp my sentiment or ink up my sentiment. And then I'll definitely remove both of those Post-its, and I can stamp out my sentiment right below the words Dad, your, and it says possum. And then I'll also grab I love and Mew from the Meow You Doin stamp set. I love this stamp set. I've had this for a while and I use it so often. So I'll ink those up using that same ink, and then I'm going to grab the exclamation point from this set, and I'll stamp those onto, or right after both of those sentiments. Dad, you're awesome. I love Mew. And so it's going to make this cute little tag, but like I said, I want to turn it into a bookmark. So I'll show you how we're going to do that here in a second. But before we do all of that, I want to put some stars on there. It needs a little bit more color. So these stars came from that Say What gift tag. I just die cut all of those, as you saw, using some of that yellow patterned paper that was in the Hello Sunshine. And I'll tack those down with some more of that liquid glue. And I was very liberal with the amount of stars. And if you'll notice, I have a piece of purple tape just sticking at the top of there just to kind of keep it in place. When you're working with small things like this, that's just a good little tip. You could use washi tape to hold down your pieces, or, you know, purple tape or whatever you might have on hand, painter's tape, but this works out really well. So then I'll peel off that paper, and then I had cut out 2 of those tags, so I'm going to attach the one to the back. This way, there's a little bit of cohesion from front to back. And then I'm going to get ready to tack down my little cat, or in this case it's Miles. But before we do that, we're also going to tack down a couple of pieces behind him. So I want him to be really sturdy, so I'm going to put 1 extra die behind him, and then I have those other 2, so I'm going to put those 2 together. So we're going to have a front and a back. Now I know that Lawn Fawn does make the little bookmark dies, which are fantastic because then you have the little butt of the animal, But this, I just wanted to show you that you can make a bookmark out of almost any of the stamps that you do have, which is great, especially if they have matching dies. So I will tack this down. I only put a little bit of glue on the upper portion of the cat on the front, so that way his feet on the bottom wouldn't be attached. And then I put the cats on the back with glue all over those, so that way my front cat will be nice and sturdy. And then it does leave a little bit of lip where his feet are. So then when I go to attach this down, or even in a book, his little feet can stick over the front of the page. I'm going to use some Scrapbook Adhesive Crafty foam tape. This stuff is great. It works really well for especially something like this. And I'm just going to tack that down all around. But before I put it down to the bottom, I need to see where my bookmark is going to be placed. Now here I did notice that I was going to have an issue. My bookmark was going to stand up a little too high. So to fix that, I decided to make a floor for my cat. So I've grabbed another piece of cardstock, and I'm going to grab some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide ink, and I'll just sponge some of that onto the upper portion of this paper. And I'll just, be pretty liberal with that, just making sure that I have good coverage. And then when I'm happy with that, I'll trim it down so that it will fit very nicely on the background there. And then my cat can look like he's just sitting on the ground with all the words behind him. So we'll put that down with a little bit of glue. I'm just going to go around the speech bubble, and then I'll put a small strip at the very bottom of my piece of paper. And then I'll attach that down and adjust as necessary. And then I will stick my cat back in. And that way I'll know where to put my foam tape. So I want him to have a nice little place to nestle in. So I'm just going to put a little foam tape on both sides of him. And then I'll add a couple more pieces just to make sure that it's good and sturdy. And then we'll peel off all of the release paper on that foam tape. And then we'll attach that down to our card panel. And then this way we can put our little kitty inside there. And there's a little bit of red that shows behind, but it doesn't bother me. I'm going to take another piece of cardstock, and this is where we're going to trim it down to 5.5 inches by 11 inches, and then we are going to score that at 5.5 inches. So this will be a 5.5 inch square card. And then that's going to be our card base. It'll be a top folding square card. I'm going to stamp another sentiment on the inside that says, "Also, can I have a treat?" So when you have translation on the outside that says, "Translation, Happy Father's Day," and then in parentheses, "Also, can I have a treat?" That's adorable. And then I'll tack down my other little kitty that I colored. He'll go on the inside. And then we'll use that same liquid glue to attach down our front. I also went ahead and cut out some hearts. Those hearts came from that Say What gift tags die as well. So I'll tack a few of those around our little kitten with that same liquid glue. And then when we are done with that, that is actually going to finish off our card. So it was a little bit involved, had quite a few little stamp sets in there, but look at what you have and see what you can do. I love how this turned out, and I can't wait to give it to my husband. He will love it. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Scrapbookpal.com has so many things going on their YouTube channel, on their blog, and you'll definitely want to check out all the projects that we have coming. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by, and I will see you very soon. Bye!